Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Borders U.S. Elections live from Kuwait, as we have to analyze our particular highlights and issues in the ongoing elections. The clock is ticking. It's a countdown, a few days. We have guests today, His Excellency Dr. Shamir Ali, Ambassador of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, here in Kuwait with us. Hello, Doctor. And also Dr. Sirajul Bouyan, Professor at Kuwait University. He is also a former head of the Department of Journalism. Welcome, and thank you for coming, both of you. With the election rapidly coming to a close, we are now witnessing both candidates court unwilling or reluctant voters, deal with scandals and take on attacks from their opponents and their supporters. As the ramification of this election will no doubt spread, the world at large has been made more aware of how much currency the Oval Office holds over their day-to-day lives. In simple English, the U.S., whatever happens in the U.S., it's going to affect the rest of us in the world. Now, with the United States in the final critical hours of the election, the candidates' speeches have grown more polarizing to their voters. Here we have Trump attempting to sway veterans to his campaign, and we have also Clinton trying to do so. So my first question here to you, gentlemen, and feel free to always try to interfere. We can start with you. We can start with anybody. What is going on with both nominees trying to use Twitter, basically social media, as a vital tool in promoting for their campaign? And why is the media, especially the big newspapers, names like New York Times, Washington Post, the USA Today, all these publications and media channels are trying to take a side into telling us who to vote to as American citizens? So what are your takes on that?
Farrah, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting us here. For correction, I was former head of the Department of Communication at Auburn University, Alabama, USA. Go back to the question. They are now trying to target, that is, if you talk about the media generally every year, they look at different qualities of the candidate. They look at the issues they are talking about. They look at the policy they are trying to pursue in the future. Based on their analysis, based on the opinion of the people, editorial board generally endorse a particular candidate. This year, it is very interesting. 229 U.S. Newspapers, 441 international.
All right.
But in the United States, Washington Post, New York Times, Arizona Republic never endorsed any Democratic candidate in 100 years. And they supported Hillary Clinton. The reason they see the Donald Trump's policy is erratic, his character issue is unacceptable, the way he talks is un-American, his sexual harassment case is pending, one 13-year-old underage rape case is pending in New York court, and his Access Hollywood tape makes people, it violates the Republican principle.
You're talking about the tape that has sexually harassed.
Exactly right.
And the women in general.
Yes, all those issues, the way he talks about the people, about blacks, about Hispanic,
migrants in general,
immigration, and he trying to build the wall. He tried to make President Putin
but
as
also,
of his president.
But I'm sorry to try to interrupt you here, but also you have Hillary Clinton has a problem with her emails being leaked out of WikiLeaks. I mean, there's also flaws also happening in her campaign. Why do you think the media is shifting toward criticizing Trump continuously?
Let me finish my thought. That I was giving you a framework why media is trying to endorse him, endorse Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
The reason, the background is that they think that Donald Trump's presidency will make America look bad in the whole world. That is the background they are trying to. But if you see the Hillary Clinton has, they identify only one problem because she was using her private server, which is not okay, using private server as a Secretary of State. Look, she said she made a mistake, and she recognized it, and the FBI did not find any wrongdoing and did not recommend for the prosecution.
Okay.
We'll go back to FBI later.
Would you like to add something?
Just to say Assalamu alaikum to
Alaikum
the
assalam.
entire audience, and to thank you, host Farrah, for having me here.
Thank you
And
so
I
much.
just wish to make it pellucidly clear that I'm speaking here as an American voter. I've been voting all the American elections since 1979, and the thoughts I will express are my personal thoughts and not that of my host nation of Guyana, of which I'm the ambassador designate to Kuwait. I am from a business background. Politics and diplomacy is new to me, but I've knocked at the corridors of power of those doors. Businesses create wealth. Newspapers around the world has to create sensation. If there is no sensation, papers do not sell.
Yeah, exactly.
It is the common sense.
Trump
There-
is giving them sensation.
This is the rage, and he's a businessman. He's accentuating his positive and not paying for it by saying the outlandish headline, which will catch the nation and invigorate us for good or bad.
So, yes.
And he is using the media, and the media is feeding into him.
Okay, so my question is for both of you, how long have you been living in the United States? I mean, if you consider yourself both American voters, you've been living more than 20 years.
79.
All right, so you guys come from a different background. Let's say, what is your background?
I came from Guyana, South
Guyana.
America, lived in New York for 20 years, Pennsylvania for 18, and
So
North
basically
Carolina
you
for
followed
2.
the American dream, just as you did as
Mashallah.
well.
Yes.
Mashallah.
So what do you say as a person who came from a different background, coming to the United States, living the American dream, that where all dreams come true, and a presidential nominee is telling you that we will be changing our migration laws, we will be stop getting people from a different religion or a different race. How do you respond to that?
I know with all due respect, that can be a pipe dream. No president can run a nation like the USA by executive authority. There's check and balances in the American Constitution with the Senate and the House. And as a result, that might be good in theory, but in practice, with all due respect, I do not think that will happen. But what
do
has
you think?
happened
Yeah.
is that the voters around the world are energized. They are mad. It is rage, and America is going through that
He's
also,
using rage.
like the others. There is rage.
But there
and I've
is
seen
rage
it.
among all Americans. It doesn't depend on the exact, this presidential election to be exact. I mean, the American people have been struggling for many years in terms of health and education and student loans and trying to find medical health insurance. I would like you to tell me what is so special about these two nominees, and what should have discussed in their campaigns and in their debates. Why are they ignoring, both of them, what's happening in North Dakota? What are the new plans for having a better health insurance for Americans? What is their foreign policy toward the Middle East? Where are these things happening? No one is talking about them.
I have to say a lot of things about the
Yes,
issues.
please do.
One thing that Hillary Clinton is most experienced, most qualified candidate. She has a lot of issues in her candidacy, and she tried to discuss, for example, economy and jobs, education, making college debt free and taking on student debt, environmental and climate change, health, justice and equality, comprehensive immigration reform, Wall Street reform, small business enhancement, national security, technology and innovation, Supreme Court nominee. She has
list goes on.
84 issues she would like to discuss.
Okay.
And she discussed very beginning of the campaign. Later, she found out that Donald Trump is not staying on the issues. He is trying to sway some voters. Those are supporting his issues. His issues are, for example, he's trying to play the fear game. He's trying to tell people
Yes.
job goes to overseas because of, well, there is crime, there is open borders. He would like to build the borders with the Mexican. Change the, he would like to say that would like to change the status quo. I am outsider. Hillary Clinton is status quo. She is there for a long time. We want to change it. A lot of people like this kind of rhetorics. And he also like to say that, well, we have to, his campaign theme would like to make America great, as if America is not great yet. But
How do you see America becoming great?
look, I see America is already great.
What about you?
It can be greater if they take money out of politics and have term limits. It will be a star on this world. Those two elements.
Yeah, you've said something off the air and while we're starting the show, and I thought it's really interesting to bring it up again, is that the reason why the media is doing like a kind of a manipulation of our minds as people to try to choose for us on our behalf who to vote for is because of money.
Money.
Where does this money come from? Is it from a certain candidate or it's just from the actual, like, they know it's like because this campaign has turned into an entertainment program where when we want to watch the debate, we're watching people insulting each other instead of telling us how to see America becoming a better version of itself.
It is a special interest group. The rich persons who want to ensure that their way will prevail, and because of the system is so expensive to run a campaign, they need to get the support. If not,
let's hold that thought
Yes.
and check the first report. Trump criticizes Clinton in front of veterans. We'll check it out in this report.
Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump delivered a defense-themed speech in battleground North Carolina, saying he can't picture Hillary Clinton being commander-in-chief. Saluting a dozen veterans on stage with him in Selma, Trump addressed the crowd.
We know Hillary can't be trusted. We've learned that. With America's security, you take a look at her email situation. Can we trust her with our security? She is disqualified for running for president of the United States. She's disqualified. Most dishonest person ever to run for office. You know, when I look at these great admirals and these great generals and these great Medal of Honor recipients behind me, to think of her being their boss? I don't think so.
The Republican nominee also vowed to outfit the military with the best equipment and to modernize the armed forces. Trump is trying to court the sizable military vote in North Carolina, one of the most hotly contested battleground states.
So we're back and we've seen the report, we've seen Trump criticizes and comments. What are your comments on the report?
Let me take this because historically, Republicans get majority of votes from the veterans, military. This year is different. For example, he's trying to get a lot of veterans behind his campaign to show that a lot of veterans supporting him. It is not really true. For example, former General Colin Powell, John Hayden, John McCain, former Secretary of Navy, John Warner, and former Senator of Virginia, they are not supporting him. And a lot of 150 generals supporting Hillary Clinton. And 37 Republican foreign policy experts endorse Hillary Clinton. And go back to other supporters. For example, former President Bush, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Jeb Bush, Senator McCain, and Senator Lindsey Graham, and so many people. Those are military supporters, and they have a background. They are not supporting.
But why is Laura Bush and the family of Bush are endorsing Hillary?
Because of our policy, as I mentioned to you, because of our policy, because of our experience, because of the security of the country, what the issues she is supporting, and compared to Donald Trump, they think she's a better candidate and best qualified running for the President of the United States ever.
Okay, you've said something about the report while we were looking at it together, that there's something is false.
Yeah, the numbers.
Yes, I was talking when Donald Trump, when he says he is leading in the polls, which is not true. Hillary Clinton is leading nationally in almost every polls, 4-3-2.
Who should we trust? Which polls? Because a lot of people are checking different polls and every newspaper is saying our polls are correct. Which one we should lead?
That is true. But I am talking about the majority of the polls. For example, Fox News
CNN.
is Republican. Fox News Republican.
Yes.
Their poll, it is the Donald Trump's core supporter, Fox News. Their poll never showed Trump is leading. That is why I'm talking about the false.
Okay.
And also the 600,000 emails he was talking, FBI never mentioned in his letter. So that is the problem of Donald Trump telling the truth. And whole campaign of his is really turned the whole America look bad in the whole world. What he's talking, he's lying actually. That is dangerous for the democracy actually. That is the reason, and a lot of media is supporting. They are checking the facts. So what he's saying is not true.
It's basically it's few days, literally on counting on our only one hand. In a couple of days, we will be the American public will be voting the last chance to have a president of the United States. Is it enough time? Do we have enough time to change a certain decision? I mean, isn't it too late to try to criticize the candidate or nominee and try to find a reality or a realistic view of what might happen if they win? Like, let's say if Trump wins, knowingly that he could have misused some statements or he didn't say the whole truth. How can we find a solution to a nominee? How can we find a realistic solution to someone who didn't say the whole truth in his campaigns?
Let me go back to the basic point here. That is we are talking about the truth, and if Hillary Clinton is leading in all polls, and probably only 2%, 2 to 3% is undecided. They are looking for that. You see, the reason they are looking for it, 1961, President Kennedy won only 1%.
Okay.
And Al Gore lost to George W. Bush only 500 votes, but he won the majority vote. But that is why small percentage is very important. That is why they are looking for that percentage.
Dr. Shamir, what do you think of this report? What are your feedback on that? And do you think that lying your way or hiding the truth or probably being a bit diplomatic, maybe Trump is being diplomatic, or what do you think?
Host Farrah, there are three sides to each story in my opinion. Your side, my side, and the truth. Trump has an array of business experts who are number crunchers. And they've told him to operate like his show that has been successful. Sensation, sensation, grabs the attention. Average American watches it, they watches a TV show. It's a culture. Smart people have already made the decision. A record number have already voted. And to be honest, what is forgotten is we are not voting for the President of the United States of America. Each state, by virtue of its constitution, will have the electoral college votes. There are 538 representatives from all the American states who will decide who the next president will be.
Out of curiosity.
And half of that
Yeah.
is 279. So who wins 270? Half is 269. Half plus 1 is 270 electoral college votes will raise their finger, and that will be the president. And based on all of that, from all reports, Hillary Clinton has the best shot today.
Okay, that's pretty much wraps it up for us in this idea in particular. But my question is just to incite and enlighten our Kuwaiti viewers who haven't been following the news on a daily basis, because this campaign have been running crazy with updates every minute, especially on Twitter or even in the newspapers or TV stations. Which states in the United States, which states are belonging to Clinton? Which kind of side? I mean, New York is probably Democratic, let's say. What about California? What about Texas, the Midwest?
There's no guarantee in anything. In the American system, there are more registered Democrats than Republicans.
Is that
but
true?
On voting day,
Let me.
voting day, voters vote their conscience.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
Sure.
that is the one case that Dr. Samir mentioned very clearly, that 270 electoral votes. We are talking about some early voting. 37 million people already voted
Okay.
in some countries. And most of the states, Hillary Clinton is leading, except Florida and probably North Carolina. And they are very significant. Generally, in Florida, Republicans vote early. In other states, Democrats vote early.
Yeah.
This year, it is different. Huge surge in the voting. And as Dr. Ali mentioned, one thing that you also mentioned, that some states, actually, there are some green states, that is blue states in the whole United States. That is, for example, California, Oregon, Washington, and that is Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Illinois, New York, and Virginia, and Vermont, and other. These are Delaware. These are the states always go Democrats. But here, we call it battleground states. For example, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Florida, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Ohio, Iowa. These are the deciding factors.
Okay.
These are the deciding factors, and mostly, if I may mention that the poll,
Please,
that is
yeah.
15 polls, as you mentioned, that which we trust. These are the most credible polls. That is Sabato's crystal ball, for example, from University of West Virginia. That is Virginia.
Okay.
He predicted Hillary Clinton will. It is 3rd of November, based on their analysis, 293, and Cook Political 278. Rothenberg and Gonzalez 323, 538, 272. Princeton University.
Interesting. Oh my God.
Princeton University 317. Red Wise 293, New York Times 322, ABC 278,
I see
Associated
that?
Press
I have to see
278,
that.
CNN 272,
Yes.
Fox 278, Fox 287, NBC 274.
But we are being misled, no, don't you think?
No. NPR,
Who knows no? Who
NPR
knows
72,
no?
Governing 72, and Fix, that is the 294. It is a poll
Everything
number.
is over 270. That's the bottom line.
That is the
Yes.
that is the key, and that is not being told so often.
So
okay.
that is the
Key.
the calculation analysis. They do it every day. You know, the polls have some error
I have
of
to see
margin.
this, I'm
You
sorry.
have to
Yes,
see it. Yes,
It's exciting.
definitely.
Okay. Yes.
So none of the polls show that there is a chance of winning of Donald Trump. However, you never know what might happen. at
There's
the
always
end.
an element of
Element
surprise,
of
even
surprise.
if things are
And
already
it did
kind
happen
of.
with President Reagan. President Ronald Reagan proved that. People do cross the floor election
I
day,
have a
and that was
question
it.
that has been
Yes.
running around in my mind
Yes.
since day one, actually. I mean, historically speaking, you have the Republican Party and the Democratic Party has changed tremendously throughout the years. It was for me as a Kuwaiti citizen, it was for me interesting to know that the Republican Party long time ago actually gave African Americans the
Yes.
right
Yes.
to live a normal life with
Yes.
equality, and they canceled slavery.
Yes.
Even though since the 80s until now, the Republican Party they only got 15% votes, less than 15% votes from the 80s until now. Why do you think that a party that gave the rights for African Americans all these years are not getting the votes of African American continuously until now?
Look,
I'm speaking of statistics only, statistically speaking.
It is interesting that they are trying to get support from black community. But you know, when they talk, Republicans, their policies are against generally goes against the African American. The way they talk, the candidates are really during the election. For example, they talk about the welfare, and they talk about some healthcare issues. And when Democrats are talking about some issues that benefit the minorities, benefit the Hispanics, and Republicans always try to block these issues in the Senate and Congress. That is the reason. Historically, they see that Republicans against them. That is one issue. Other issue, you see that that is civic rights movement. Democrats are always pioneer, and Republicans try to intimidate that is black voters during the election. They try to block black voters, the voter registration. These are the issues circulated in the newspaper. Recently, you know, in the Ohio, a federal judge ordered Republicans not to intimidate voters, and also Nevada and other places, Arizona, they are also blocking the Republicans not to intimidate.
Sorry to interrupt you. Dr. Shamir, do you think there's a hope for the Green Party to surface in the next 4 years in the United States?
Maybe 10, not 4.
Okay.
There is hope because the younger generation, the one who followed Senator Bernie Sanders, those will grow because they have a point of view, and yes, it will grow, but it will take time.
Okay.
The big problem is funding and monies, but with internet,
So basically it's all about money.
with all due respect,
I'd say Samir is working in the political arena more than me. But Green Party and Libertarian Party, way back. It will be very difficult for them next, not only 10 years, more than 20, 25. It will be a long way to go.
It will take a long time. Anyway, let's take a hold and focus on the next report. Clinton is responding to Trump this time. Let's check it out.
Hillary Clinton's bid to
Trump, the next U.S. president, suffered a setback after the Federal Bureau of Investigation announced that it is examining newly discovered emails on Clinton's top aide, Huma Abedin's computer. With less than 2 weeks to go before voters head to the polls on November 8th, the timing of the announcement had many Democrats concerned, as it seemed to reinvigorate rival Donald Trump's campaign. Trump praised the decision, saying that it raised serious questions about whether Clinton can be trusted with the presidency.
We are 11 days out from perhaps the most important national election of our lifetimes. Therefore, it's imperative that the Bureau explain this issue in question, whatever it is, without any delay.
Clinton and the other Democrats, including many members of the Congressional Black Caucus, called on the FBI Director James Comey to provide a fuller explanation of investigative steps he's taking related to Clinton's use of a private email server. Sources close to the investigation said that the latest emails were discovered as a separate probe into Anthony Weiner, Abedin's estranged husband. The Bureau disclosed nothing about the Abedin emails, including whether any of the messages were sent by or to Clinton. Clinton and her campaign are downplaying the new review and speculation about a voter backlash this late in the campaign. Many Americans have already made up their minds about the earlier probe in her emails, with Clinton saying,
I'm confident, whatever they are, will not change the conclusion reached in July.
The FBI closed its investigation into Clinton's use of a private email system while serving as Secretary of State over the summer. Until Friday, her campaign seemed to have weathered the initial FBI email probe. U.S. voters head to the polls on November 8th.
So we've seen the comments by Hillary, and we've seen her stand, and we've seen her defending herself. We've seen her talking about that it's only going to be a few days until the vote. What are your comments, please?
Let me talk about it. This FBI, it is in the United States we call it October surprise. Donald Trump has a lot of surprises during October. Hillary Clinton, that was the bombshell, FBI report, that is the letter to the Congress. The reason is her lead was 14-point lead at the time. After that FBI letter,
Yeah.
reopening the, I would not say reopening, it is the relevant emails might be there in her aide, Huma Abedin, might be related to the investigation. That is the letter. He did not mention any other things. That is a bombshell. Republicans took it as an advantage. And you know, people swing is a pendulum, right?
Yeah.
And so now her lead is 2 to 4 point nationally. But that is a bombshell, and make Democrats very worried.
That's why they want to take her out, Huma Abedin. They are trying, they're writing media articles about her, trying to asking Hillary Clinton to isolate her from the campaign?
No, that is not the case.
What is the case?
That is Huma Abedin recused herself. She is not traveling with her
Okay.
by her choice. And also, you know, when she goes with Hillary Clinton, travel, and reporter will ask a lot of questions. Probably deliberately she is trying to avoid the questions and trying to protect Hillary campaign's distraction, not be distracted by the reporters. That is one of the reason. And also, you see, that is the, why I want to say something, that is what I see from the media report, that FBI
Yes.
violated their tradition.
Let's not talk about the FBI right now because we have an FBI report coming in.
Okay, we'll talk.
We're leaving the juices until the end of the show. But let me have your opinion on Clinton's report and her emails.
To be quite honest, the American system has checks and balances. All civil servants are supposed to be neutral. But we all have one way or another self-interest. self-preservation. And in my humble opinion, there are elements of that at work. Anything can happen by midnight on November the 8th with the election. So people who have the opportunity to accentuate their positives are using it, tea, breakfast, and dinner. And this is no different in my humble opinion. It is a little bit of protecting yourself, see what you can do, see what you can help, who you can help, and who is being the fiddle master, who's pulling the strings.
Okay.
But bear this in mind, with the totality of the experience in government with Senator Clinton, I'm surprised it's not millions and not hundreds of thousands. She has been in government for years. How much can any businessman show? That's private.
True.
It's not allowed, so it's cheese and chalk. The comparison should not even enter anybody's mind, with all due respect.
That is interesting. We will take, we will hold a thought in your head, please. We have another report coming in from the studio. They just informed me that we would like to know the opinions of other ambassadors in Kuwait and their opinion on the elections. Let's check it out.
I served in the United States twice, the first time in the early 2000s and then from 2011 to 2015, and I saw the re-election of Barack Obama in 2012. I mean, it's difficult to say. I never expected Mr. Trump to make it into the runoff, but if someone believes the polls, I assume that it will be Mrs. Clinton who will actually make the race. But I mean, there's still 14 days to go, and we'll see what comes out.
I think it will be a very interesting campaign. There will be a lot of debate. I think most of these processes, when they are truly democratic, they tend to be very exciting because candidates tend to come with issues concerning the future of the country. So actually I'm very much looking forward to witnessing the debate. It will be, for me, who am not, let's say, have not been very long in the country, will be extremely instructive to learn more about Kuwait. Where the candidates stand will certainly be a fascinating experience for me to observe this campaign. I do read polls from time to time, but again, there is a lot at stake. The campaign is extremely intense, with plenty of situations that seem to bring the pollsters to new findings, let's say. But since I'm not there physically, it's very difficult for me to really sense the atmosphere. When you base yourself on newspaper reports from the distance, it's very, very difficult to make a prediction.
Well, I think the polls right now are indicating that Hillary Clinton has a very good chance to win the elections. I think that she is 5 or 6 points ahead. And this is a trend that has been going on for the last week. So I think there's a very fair chance that she wins, although it's probably difficult. There might things be happening in the US that change that prediction. But right now I would say it's Hillary Clinton. I think, of course, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have two very different concepts of foreign policy. Hillary Clinton does foreign policy in a more traditional way. She's sort of open for American, let's say, involvement abroad. Whereas Donald Trump really is more following an isolationist policy. He wants to withdraw from international involvement, from military action, etc., from international trade treaties. So he wants to withdraw from the rest of the world. So it's two very different concepts. This is why the result of the elections will matter for many countries. My feeling would be that Donald Trump as a president would actually withdraw many of the troops and be even less involved. than the present administration. What Hillary Clinton will be doing is not very easy to predict. I think, given her.
So we've seen what the diplomats in Kuwait do they think about the coming elections. Of course, their opinions they can't be themselves. They were speaking on behalf of their country, of course. I mean, you're sitting right here in front of me, Dr. Shamir, as a diplomat, as an ambassador, and as a citizen in the United States. How do you balance that out when you see these elections? How do you think?
Number one, as the ambassador, I have to follow the instructions of my nation, and they've given me no such instructions, so I have no opinion in that.
Okay.
But as a voter who have watched American politics, who have hobnobbed with the Department of State and in Washington, World Bank, IMF, all these leaders are of the same mind and action. Foreign policy is not decided by the president. There's a Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate and the House. There are checks and balances. And all the big sensation that is being said, half of it or less will really be implemented in the first term.
Okay.
We will be lucky
Yes.
if there's a second term. So it's all sensation. And if you're to rate the two candidates that we do have, experience is worth more than silver and gold and oil and gas. That's the bottom line. Businesses create wealth. That's where Donald Trump has it.
Yes, a lot of things. You open a lot of questions, and I don't know where should I address. Actually,
Let's stick to the ones that we just
foreign
raised.
policy,
Yes.
foreign
Yes.
policy. Foreign policy issue is very important. That is the reason whole world is watching United States. Their foreign policy is very affecting everybody. Hillary Clinton has huge experience. And Obama says it, Michelle Obama says it, that she is the most qualified person in terms of foreign policy issue. There is one issue she is highly above.
Sorry to cut in. If my add, you get one, you get in two. Don't forget President Bill Clinton. That's
Yes.
a powerhouse by himself in the Arab world.
Interesting.
Don't underestimate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is the,
I understand
that is
that,
the
yeah.
reason. That is what, as I saw that ambassador of German,
Yes.
he was mentioning that Hillary Clinton will continuously follow the traditional foreign policy of the United States, that is working with the NATO, working with the Middle East and their allies to fight ISIS and other financial crises in the world. Hillary is the most important, experienced person. But Donald Trump, as we are talking about the two candidates, Donald Trump does not have any foreign policy issues. He was never been in any public office. That is why he does not talk about foreign policy. He's talking about that I will kill people, and that is why Hillary Clinton is always afraid that if you bait somebody with tweet, you cannot trust him with nuclear buttons. That is
Sir Roger, just a point too. Even if Clinton is the president, Trump is the president, he can have the advisors. So, we got to be fair to everybody.
But do you think his tone will change,
Yes,
Trump,
I'm
after he
one of
becomes
those who
president?
believe if he becomes president, he has to change. That's the American system. He will have to wear the jacket that he's given. If that happens, all is not going to be lost. There is hope. I believe if the voters pick him,
You
he
feel
will
like you
not
want to
be
say
delivered.
something. He's like this.
He's allowed, but
He's
I
very
strongly
ner-
believe that the one person, one vote is still strong in the great land of America. So if he does win, America's not going to be lost. There's still hope. and he will have to temper his enthusiasm with restraint, with all due respect.
Okay, yes, check and
Get it
balance.
out. Get it out of your system.
Check
Tell
and
me.
balance, check and balance, definitely. I hope he will not win. That is the, based on the polls, that is not my personal.
Allah's will.
That is
Allah's
the,
will will be done.
That is the
Allah's
interesting.
will.
We're
that
not
is the
taking
whole world.
sides here. Let's
No.
pay
No,
attention.
we are not talking.
Just being
One
objective.
thing,
That's
one
it.
thing
We are
before-
worried about the American people. We're worried about the rest of the world because any kind of ramification, result bad or good, it's not going to affect only the U.S. It's going to affect the rest of us.
I agree, but only if the Gulf stand together. That's the number one. They have to do a little bit more than they're doing.
I want to
The-
finish one thing.
yes,
that,
please, but
very,
because-
very close. Washington D.C. That is the, according to Arab Center in Washington D.C., 69% respondents from Kuwait said they disapprove Donald Trump compared to his overall 60% disapproval rating in the region. Meanwhile, 50% of respondents from Kuwait said they approve Hillary Clinton compared to her overall 56% approval rating in the Middle East. And the reason, they have 4 categories. If Hillary Clinton wins, and the people prefer, number 1, that United States should not interfere Middle Eastern countries policy. Second, they want the Palestinian issue should be resolved. Number 3, you'll be surprised. Number 3, they are talking about the ISIS. And number 4, they're talking about, they think the priority is Syrian issues. So these are the priorities they're talking about, and they believe that Hillary Clinton will handle better. Thank you.
So basically, I'm sorry to say this, we're out of time. I would like to thank you both very much for giving us your time to talk about this enormous issue. It's a sensitive subject, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you
It's a
very
real
much.
pleasure, delight and joy.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
most
you
welcome.
everyone for watching, and hopefully we will talk more before we know who's going to be the president of the United States. Thank you so much. This is Farrah ALHashem.